Hi, welcome back to my channel. I am Healer and You, and I'm speaking on betrayal. And so I started a series on betrayal, and I think this is the fourth video, how to begin to trust again after betrayal. So I'm gonna have, let's see, 5 points. You're gonna take your time. You're gonna move slowly, no rushing. Don't look for people who are impulsive. It's gonna be uncomfortable. Be ready or not, whatever works for you. If you're not ready, then you're not ready. Not everyone deserves your trust, so understand that, be choosy, and then trust yourself. Let's so take your time because you've been betrayed. You're not going to want to jump into trusting people, but you need to be able to trust. That's you can't go through life without trusting people. You just to what degree everybody gets trust your trust at a different degree. So take your time, give yourself a break, and don't rush into trusting again. Observe the people you want to trust from a distance, keeping your autonomy comfortable. Just make sure your body feels comfortable. Don't move, especially straight after betrayal. Don't move in a direction that doesn't feel good. So if something feels good and you feel like you can trust a certain thing, then keep doing those things you trust so you can build up your trust. Let yourself ease into relationships, knowing where your boundaries and limitations start and where they end individually. So your boundaries start and end differently with everybody. There's like these basic boundaries you have that certain people treat you certain ways. Like family members maybe have different boundaries than acquaintances, obviously. And then coworkers have different boundaries than family members. And, like close loved ones and significant others obviously have different boundaries. So just make sure you have your general boundaries that covers everybody and that you know what they are. And then the other boundaries won't seem so difficult because you'll have your strong core. So core boundaries. So everybody should have core boundaries, okay? And then your other boundaries are different at different levels for different groups of people, right? Some people get more or less access to you. You are the judge. They don't get to choose how much access they have to you. Nobody gets to choose that. No matter what your relationship is. That's for you to choose. You are the judge. Someone you trust understands this, right? So that's a good way to know if you can trust somebody that they understand that you're in charge of your boundaries, okay? Now, if you have a significant other, they might be uncomfortable with the boundaries you have for other people, and that's okay too, because that'll help you, because maybe you're too trustworthy sometimes and your significant other feels uncomfortable because you're letting people in to kind of their space a little bit. Like, not that they own any space on you, but like you do have space for your significant other that you don't leave open to anybody else, right? So they're gonna let you know, okay, some boundaries here, a little bit crossing here. So they you like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. So, sometimes people are trying to sneak into those boundaries, so somebody else who cares about you can help you out. So listen to people, if they're letting you know, like they think somebody might be, because if you've already been betrayed, you have a good tendency of letting people in, maybe a little bit too close. And that's not always the case, because sometimes you're betrayed. I was betrayed by my own family members, and how do you not let your family members in closely to you? You spend every day of your life with them, like your own parent, your spouse, your significant other, and things. So that's why it's hard for you to, after betrayal, understand where your boundaries are. So if you have your core boundaries and you make those strong, like no one speaks to you a certain way, no one raises their voice a certain level, unless there's like incident, an emergency, or they're really upset. You just have those boundaries, but it's not going to be a day-to-day occasion where your boss is shouting at you, you know what I mean? Like you're just not going to allow that kind of thing. Or your kids or even your significant other, you're not going to come home to them screaming at you every day, right? So you have your core boundaries, you only let, like certain people in your home or whatever. I mean, maybe you have them take off their shoes when they come in the door. I mean, whatever your core values are, or yeah, your boundaries come from your core values. But yeah, so whatever that is, they tie in together. So if you don't know what your boundaries are, ask yourself what your values are and then build from there, okay? So you are the judge. Someone you trust understands. Do background checks. Yeah, there's some people who I know who encourage coaches and stuff encourage background checks, okay? So depending. who these people are. People who have their own boundaries and respect your boundaries are generally safer to trust. Right. So if you get into a conversation with somebody and you know them, you're just getting to know them, and you just say, I have some boundaries. I feel boundaries are important. And they say, oh, I don't like boundaries. What are the boundaries for? That kind of thing. Well, then that person generally doesn't respect boundaries. So you might not want to, carry on a relationship with them or trust them. Where other people like, yes, I have boundaries. I expect those to be met. So those are the people you can trust. So that was number one. Take your time, feel people out, get background checks, and find people who also use boundaries. Number two, move slow, no rushing. Okay, so impulsiveness is a big sign that somebody isn't safe and that maybe you shouldn't trust them because you just don't know. You're just not, your body's naturally not going to want to trust somebody too impulsive because you've been around those people before and all out of the blue they do something. You're like, I can't believe you just did that. What are you doing? And they're just like, that's what I do. And you're just like, okay, so and everybody can be a little bit impulsive. I'm actually somewhat impulsive, and I'm an impulsive person, but I've seen people who are like way high on the impulsive side, but I am a little bit up. I'm over the mid range myself, so I tend to gravitate towards impulsive people. So that's like another reason why you might need boundaries. If you're impulsive and you notice that you kind of gravitate towards impulsive people because you're curious and impulsive people always do something impulsive. And if you're impulsive yourself, you're kind of waiting for that next impulsive thing. So when you see other people who are impulsive, you're easily drawn in to their impulsiveness and if you're already an impulsive person. So you really need to have boundaries because you learn the hard way with that because your impulsiveness will create boundaries that you don't want. So you have to be really careful with that. And then there's other people who they don't like impulsiveness at all. And so they'll actually gravitate away from you. If they know you're impulsive, you feel impulsive, or you're apt to do something impulsive, they'll move away from you. They don't like it. And they feel uncomfortable around impulsive people because they're like, they don't know when that impulsive person is going to do the next thing. And most people don't gravitate towards impulsive people. And if you do, it's really a hindrance to finding trustworthy people. Because all untrustworthy people are impulsive. And so only about half of your trustworthy people are impulsive. So you have to be careful what kind of impulsive they are. So you'll probably find it difficult to trust people who are impulsive, and there may be other attributes that cause you to hold back your trust. And this is that trouble. Trust should trickle out a little bit at a time, right? So you're not gonna give away all your trust at once, even if you decide somebody is trustworthy, and maybe they are, and you're a really good judge of it. Or how about this? You get to know people that somebody else trusts. That helps too. If you already know somebody and they introduce you to somebody that they've trusted for a long time, and they have a good background, then that goes back to your background check. You can use people for background checks too, kind of like references. Okay, so number three, be ready or not, whatever works for you. So if you're ready to be trusting people again, then that's good and go ahead. But if you're not ready, but you might be feeling like, I just need to start trusting new people. You might have already realized you trusted the wrong people and there was some kind of I don't know, a frequency or something. Like there was something that you were doing, like why you kept trusting the same kind of people. Like you just kept trusting narcissists because right away they were nice and you're kind of impulsive and they were funny and they made you laugh. And so you started trusting them and you started trusting the same people because they were able to like just come right in and be love bombing. And you're like, oh, wow, this is a nice person. And so you already realized that was not um, the right way to go about trusting people. Like you just can't trust people just because they're nice and they're impulsive and they're fun and they make you laugh, right? So you realize that. So now you're like, okay, I'm not ready to trust people because I don't have enough experience in trusting the right people. And that can be really, really the case because you might have been attracted to uh impulsive people, here I go again, but unsafe people, people who like to disrupt boundaries, but at first, like they show up as like being comfortable with your boundaries. And then which is very common with narcissists, they act like they're very comfortable with your boundaries. They love your boundaries. They like it that you have these values and these boundaries, but it's actually more of a challenge for them because if you didn't have these boundaries, like they'll come around other people who are just like them and they're impulsive and they are toxic and they don't have any boundaries. And so they're like, hey, I can cross these boundaries or whatever because they don't have them and they don't have the boundaries themselves. So then they find you and you have values and you have boundaries. Well, there is nothing better than crossing boundaries of somebody who has values and integrity. And like, can I be the person to like squash your boundaries? Like, can I get in there? Are you gonna let me in? Can I be the snake that's gonna like get in the way of your boundaries and take over your thought process and your mind? Well, that's what they want to do. So I'm just letting you know. That's what you need to be careful of. Okay, so that's why you may not be ready because you might feel that. You might be like, okay, here we go again. This is the same kind of thing, you know? Like this person feels really fun. I can see myself having a good time and laughing, but before you know it, you're with somebody who is trying to get you to break every single one of your boundaries. Okay? And you're gonna be staying there like, where did my boundaries go? You wouldn't even know because they are so conniving and you're actually having a fun time while you're sacrificing every single one of your boundaries and your values, okay? So you have to be really careful about that. And then they come with a pack of people who do the same thing. So now you're like really in trouble. So just be careful. Okay, so now, oh, I think I'm on number three. Follow your body's cues. Yeah, so they'll be like, here we go again. We did this before. This person is not safe. So that's when you're like, okay, I need to pull back, right? I'm not going to trust this person. Feels just exactly like another encounter you had or something. So you're like, oh, I'm not going down that road again, right? So you may miss out on good people who you could trust and be okay with this because you just may not be ready. And that's when you're taking a chance. I'm not really sure if I can trust this person. I've seen some things happen. They cross one of my boundaries. You just need to go with it and just be like, I can't trust this person right now. Don't don't go on the other side. Be like, I think I'm gonna give them a little bit more trust because they only crossed one of my boundaries and they're really fun and we're having a great time, right? So no, because if they already crossed one of your boundaries, don't let out more trust, right? You may have to release your fears over and over until you get it right. Sometimes you're just not ready to trust people. It's the other side of it. You're not so open to like allowing people who are just, oh, you're just having a great time with them that they, like cross one of your boundaries. No, this is more like the other side of it where you could have a great time with somebody. You could get to know somebody. You could really have a great time and enjoy them and be able to trust them, but you're too afraid. And so you're going to miss out on that opportunity. And you have to be okay with that because you're going to miss out on opportunity because you're not ready. And it says you may have to release your fears over and over until you get it right. And that means losing opportunities with people who could be trusted because you're not sure if you can trust them and you need to go back and release the fear of trusting them for some reason. You're not really sure why. They might have something that they do that reminds you of somebody that you couldn't trust, but it may not be their fault and it may not be a bad thing, but it's just something in your body's telling you, ooh, I don't feel it right now. Because you need to go back and release some of your fears. And this person may very well be safe, but you're never 100% sure. And you have to understand that everybody could betray you. And so anybody's capable of betrayal. Anybody. And so the best of people mess up sometimes. They can go on for years and years and years and years being trustworthy. And then one day, they're just not trustworthy that day. I mean, they're human, right? So you have to understand that. It's not like you're going to find somebody who can 100% be trusted. Nobody can 100% be trusted and be human. So you have to remember that. And so number four, not everyone deserves your trust. So be choosy. So that's when you like decide, okay, this person doesn't belong, deserve my trust, doesn't belong in my frequency or my energy or my life. So I need to remove them or I need to remove myself from being in their energy. Okay, so and then number five, trust yourself. When you get that feeling that something isn't right, that means it's not right. Trust yourself. And then when you get that other feeling that, I can trust this person. I can trust them at least with this information or this much access to me. Like, give yourself a boundary and say, right now, I trust this person with this much access to my life. And then give them that much access. Sometimes you're on the fence a little bit and somebody actually really should receive a little bit more of your trust. And you need to go back and see why you're in fear of not releasing more of your trust because the relationship's kind of stuck because you're not allowing yourself to be more accepting of trust and give more trust to them. So you need to do that sometimes too. So trust yourself and make sure you build up trust for yourself. Learn to trust yourself and put all your trust in yourself. Put your trust in God. And when I say put your trust in yourself, I mean when it comes to trusting other people, not so much in how your behavior is going to be, because you really need to understand that the boundary that you create that other people can't cross are the same boundaries that you expect to treat other people the same way. So you have to be careful and be trustworthy yourself, that you're not hurting other people and that you're respecting their boundaries. It's not just all about you, but trust yourself to know that you know who is willing to be in your presence and with who you should remove from it. Thank you again. Have a nice day.